Welcome back to NCBA's Coffee Break, the podcast where we keep it practical, timely, and just caffeinated enough to get you through the day. I'm your host, Nathan Wilner, and today we're talking about a challenge every law firm knows all too well: growth ceilings. There's only so many hours in the day, only so many pleadings that they can get filed, and eventually, no matter how many new accounts come in, attorneys hit a limit on capacity. But what if scaling didn't just mean hiring more people or filing more lawsuits? That's why we're digging in today, and I'm excited to be joined by Rag Khandelwal, head of digital strategy and operations at Prodigal. Rag works closely with law firms, collection agencies, debt buyers, and others that are using digital collections to resolve more accounts before a suit is ever filed, and in the process, unlocking growth firms didn't think was possible. So, Rag, welcome to NCBA's Coffee Break.
Thanks, Nathan. Really appreciate that introduction. And it's lovely to be here. Excited to chat about how law firms can scale without adding headcount or increasing suit filing capacity. It's one of
That's
the big challenges that every law firm owner I speak with. They're like, I can get so many more accounts. My clients want to give me more accounts, but I just don't have the capacity to justify, um, to do a justified operations on them.
So let's start with, the big picture. I talk, you know, some versions of the same complaint is what I hear over and over again. We have accounts, but we don't have the filing capacity. So walk us through, where does the ceiling really come from? Like, why are law firms in this situation?
Yeah. Great question. I think there's a lot of work that it takes to get a suit filed. And typically, all of that was kept in-house. And even volumes are not constant, they vary month across month. And a lot of that has been solved by having paralegals and by sort of giving a lot of the paralegal work to external agencies and outsourcing it. But what remains the same today is the bandwidth you have from your attorneys. They need to give certain time in filing a lawsuit, and the number of attorneys you have sort of bottlenecks how many suits you can file, and hence how many accounts you can handle. So that's where the real bottleneck is today.
And so that's where the pre-suit liquidation changes the math, right? Is that correct? I mean, that's the differential.
Exactly, right? So if you can get a lot of these accounts resolved pre-suit, then you can handle a higher volume of accounts because the number of cases you need to file um, drastically reduce.
Okay, so let's tackle a fair question I hear a lot. By the time an account reaches a law firm, it's often been through multiple collection agencies already. So why would a consumer suddenly respond to a digital outreach or some other form at that stage?
Yeah, it actually comes down to the timing of it. If when a consumer hears from a law firm, it really sort of makes them want to take action because they understand that handling legal consequences is both time taking and difficult, and hence consumers are more responsive to outreach from a law firm. A lot of time with collection agencies, they think they can get away with it. They think they don't, nothing's going to happen to them. But when they see a law firm reaching out, they actually respond a lot. They're a lot more likely to respond.
Yeah, so it's not that consumers are suddenly more cooperative. It's not that, suddenly changing their personality, but it's they're finally getting the form of communication that really fits their reality. And I know, if anyone has kids, good luck on getting them to ever call you. They'll never respond. They're not going to answer that phone. I don't even know if
Yeah.
the phone rings. But the way they're, communicating is with some sort of text or chat app, whether it be text messaging or WhatsApp, and that's the only way you're going to get a response. And that's society today. So um, it's not surprising, really, to hear that in some ways. That really what we're talking about is finding that silver bullet, that thing that works that gets through to the person.
Correct. And you need to meet the consumer where they are. You need to meet them on their own terms, and give them multiple options to engage and interact with you. A lot of the collection agencies today are hammering consumers with voice calls, and consumers have stopped responding to unknown calls from unknown phone numbers. But when you reach out to them via text, via MMS, via email, and you're able to identify certain times at which they're more likely to respond back and use really, really effective digital strategies, that really increases the engagement And I've seen with email alone, a lot of law firms are actually able to engage 60% of consumers, versus that number being a lot lower with letters or voice outreach alone.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic statistic, and I'm sure I'm no different than everyone else. My phone rings. If I don't have that number in there, if I don't know, if it doesn't say a person's name, I'm like very tempted to answer, but I just like, and then sometimes my wife goes, "Why are you answering that phone? You don't know that person." I'm like, "Well, maybe it's something important." He goes, "If it's something important, they'll leave a message, or it's someone you know." And so, and even with the do not call lists and all kinds of things where preventing spam calls, they're still coming through. So phone calls really are not the way people communicate effectively anymore. So let's talk about the downstream impact. When a firm improves its pre-suit liquidation rate, how does that translate into more placements from creditors from their clients? In other words, okay, it might make it easier in the law firm, but does it really translate to more business?
That's a great question. One is once you've increased your pre-suit liquidation rates, you're effectively increasing your capacity. So now you're able to handle more accounts. But in terms of how this benefits their creditors, the creditors themselves are looking to get the money back faster. When it goes through the legal route, it takes a lot longer to get their money back. But if you're able to collect more pre-suit, that's faster liquidations for them. The second is the cost, the upfront cost of filing a lawsuit need is not required anymore if you're settling pre-suit, and hence creditors are extremely happy that that cost, the upfront cost, is being saved as well. And third, if you're using multiple channels of communication, engaging with them, getting engaging with more people pre-suit, you're also increasing your net recoveries. So I think in all three aspects, time to collect, cost to collect, and the total amount you've collected, all three of them go up. And if you can really increase your pre-suit liquidation rates, creditors are more likely to give you a lot more accounts.
Well, so ironically, filing fewer lawsuits can actually lead to more total revenue, which is sort of counterproductive, right?
Exactly, but that's the way it is today, and we're seeing a law firm just scale without adding a lot of headcount.
Yeah, no, so it seems like in many cases it's not a situation where the consumer disagrees they owe the money. It's either they don't know what options are available and you can't give them their options if you can't communicate with them. And that's really the someone is sued for a certain amount, they think they have to come up with all of it in one shot. They don't know their settlement possibilities. And that's where the work you're doing makes a big difference. So let's put this in practical terms. How does your company, Prodigal, help firms do this? And what kind of results are you seeing? Like, gets down to I hire you. How do you help me out? What could you do for me?
Uh, Good question. So I think we've worked with over a dozen law firms at this point, and what we do is we really help them make sense of their data to understand consumer preferences and communicate with them at a channel and time of their preference. So how do you reach out to them digitally via SMS and email? And what are the best practices that you can leverage to generate more engagement pre-suit so that you have to file lesser cases and handle more volumes without increasing headcount?
So that's huge because I mean, obviously, hiring more staff is expensive. Training is expensive. There's liability associated with this for firms, and then of course there's burnout. I'm sure you hear from folks that they've had enough, or they had enough for today. So how does
Yeah.
this help? How does that help with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think digital outreach is largely self-serve. So if you have like a really good payment portal, a really good inbound AI agent, and a really effective outreach strategy that gets consumers to pay you pre-suit without ever having a human in the loop. We've seen through effective digital strategies, you can grow your pre-suit liquidation rates anywhere between 25 and 300%. Those are some of the numbers that we've seen with some of our customers. And yeah, I mean, of course, some of that you would have eventually gotten even if you filed suit, but we discussed all of the advantages of getting that money back faster as well.
Yeah, and I would also think that in a way, a softer approach, uh, it builds your reputation. It diminishes reputational risk. So basically, it's a win-win-win. The client's happier, the consumer
Yeah.
is happier, and the law
Yeah.
firm or the agency is happier. So it's really there is no specific downside, and I'm hearing that there's incredible upside. So All right, we're getting close to the end of our cup of coffee, so to speak. It's our last question. If a law firm or any firm, collection agency firm is listening today, and they remember one thing from our communication and our conversation today, what should it be?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I would just like to repeat again is that scaling doesn't mean you spend more hours in office, you hire more staff, you hire more attorneys. That equation has drastically changed today. It just means that you need to resolve the right accounts earlier and let your attorneys focus on those that really need litigation.
So I love that. It's scale smarter, not angrier, right? And that's really the trick, right? Is to figure out the system that works, put your efforts and resources where they're needed, but don't waste time or money where they're not. And it sounds like Prodigal has the answers, and I encourage everyone who needs that kind of help or just wants to find out how Prodigal can help them, improve their processes to give you a call. I'm sure you'd be happy to hear from
Yeah.
any of our listeners today. So, anyone who wants to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you?
You can reach out via our website, prodigaltech.com, or you can email me at rag.khandelwal@prodigaltech.com.
Okay, so that's how anyone can get your help or your feedback, and of course, just reaching out to you. There's no obligation, right? Just to find out how you can help and what you could do for their firm.
Absolutely. I think I would be more than happy to speak to anybody who wants to understand what are some of the things that we do and what are some actionable insights that I can help them with to increase their pre-suit liquidation rates even just by themselves. Absolutely open to a conversation anytime.
That's great. That's great to hear. So thanks to everyone who's listening to NCBA's Coffee Break today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a colleague, especially the one who keeps asking for just one more paralegal. And that's everybody, right? Until next time, I'm Nathan Wellner. And remember, the best growth strategy might be fewer lawsuits, not more. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on our next episode of NCBA's Coffee Break.